Well, guys, we need to dive back to 2020 during the summer of love, according to the left, which was really a summer of blood when you had far left activists out there actually burning down cities and tearing down statues. Now, when it came to statues, they were saying, oh, we're against these Confederate statues because they are racist. However, it wasn't just about the Confederate statues. It was about anything American, because when it came to statues, they actually defaced and tore down statues of Frederick Douglass, a black man, and also Abraham Lincoln. His statues got defaced. And also in 2020, the Democrats tried to remove the Emancipation statue of Abraham Lincoln because to them, it looks racist. Now, the Emancipation statue, folks, this is the history you probably don't learn in school, was actually funded by former slaves. Abraham Lincoln actually wrote the Emancipation Proclamation, ending slavery in Confederate states. But the Democrats, they have always been the party of division, racism. They have always been that. There was no party switch. The Democrats are divisive. And now, guys, 2023, the Democrats are back at it again, trying to take down the Emancipation statue. Here we go on Fox News. Democrats demand removal of Lincoln Emancipation Memorial in D.C. The memorial shows President Abraham Lincoln freeing an enslaved man. Now, if you actually look at the Emancipation statue right here, see the Democrats, they look at it as Abraham Lincoln is actually better than this slave. In reality, he's holding the Emancipation Proclamation and saying, hey, you're free and the chains are broken. They find this to be offensive. Let's go ahead and read some of this, guys. House Democrats proposed legislation Wednesday to remove the Emancipation Memorial from Lincoln Park in Washington, D.C., which they said portrays a racially insensitive image of President Abraham Lincoln freeing an enslaved man. Democrat Eleanor Holmes Norton reintroduced legislation to remove the statue Wednesday, the first day of Black History Month. So essentially, guys, she wants to destroy Black history. She first announced her plan to propose the bill in the House in 2020. The delegate noted that the statue was initially paid for by freed slaves, but said the design was not representative of their struggles. Now, here's the thing. Who is she to actually say it doesn't represent their struggle? She was not around back then. She wasn't around. And contrary to popular belief, the Democrats want you to believe that people today were enslaved. No. Slavery has been over for, 160 plus years. But they want to dictate that. I guess she's essentially saying that those former slaves, they were wrong. They were wrong for this statue. That's what she's saying. Quote, although the formerly enslaved Americans paid for the statue, the design and sculpting process was done without their input or participation, and it shows, Norton said in a statement announcing the legislation. Quote, the statue fails to depict how enslaved African Americans pressed for their own emancipation. At the time, they had only recently been liberated from slavery and were grateful for any recognition of their freedom. However, in his keynote address at the unveiling of the statue, Frederick Douglass pointedly did not praise the statue, and indeed, in private remarks, went as far as to say it showed the Negro on his knee when a more manly attitude would have been indicative of freedom. 6 Democratic representatives backed Norton's legislation as co-sponsors. The bill was referred Wednesday to the House Committee on Natural Resources. The previous version of the bill did not receive a vote in the House. Now, if I'm not mistaken, also, I believe in New York City, I believe they had a similar statue, and I believe they actually had that removed too. This is nothing more than Democrats trying to race bait. That's all it is. More race baiting from Democrats. They want everybody to see through their lenses that you are a victim. That's the way they actually see it. They want to be divisive. No, it was actually this one here. Check this out. Boston removed a replica of the Emancipation Memorial in 2020 after a unanimous vote from city officials. The statue was designed by Thomas Ball, a Boston native. So it wasn't in New York City. This is the one I was actually talking about, that replica. Quote, Boston removed this replica of the statue in favor of placing it in a publicly accessible location where it can be better contextualized. It is time for Congress to place the original statue in a museum too. In other words, they don't want people to see this thing. They do not want people to see this thing. And if history was really being taught, then it would actually really say, that, hey, Lincoln, the Republican, was actually freeing slaves from the Democrats. But you'll never, ever hear that. And that is the reality. The memorial was dedicated to mark the 11th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's assassination in 1876 and shows the former president holding a copy of the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforward shall be free. The statue has been a hot spot for protests in recent years, as organizers have decried its imagery as racially insensitive. Quote, what I want to see before I die is a monument representing the Negro, not couchant on his knees like a four-footed animal, but erect on his feet like a man, Norton said. The push to remove the memorial comes after dozens of Confederate statues were removed around the country after protests following the death of George Floyd in 2020. Now, Thoughts News, you need to do a better job. It wasn't just about the Confederate statues. We've done videos on that on the past. They were pretty much tearing down any statues. It wasn't just Confederate statues. For the most part, it was. But Frederick Douglass was taken down. Abraham Lincoln was defaced. I mean, I believe George Washington, too, if I'm not mistaken, Thomas Jefferson. They were going after all statues because these woke revolutionaries wanted to bring in this Marxist regime into this country because they hate America. They hate history. They want to actually revise history for some type of a Marxist utopia that is just not realistic. But I'm not surprised, guys, that they're going after Abraham Lincoln yet again. I mean, also, maybe they don't even know this. When it comes to the quote-unquote Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, that was actually written for Abraham Lincoln. It wasn't even written for black people. It was written by black people in honor of Abraham Lincoln. But they're not going to tell you that. That's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? Black and White Network fans, let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next time.